It would be way slicker than this, wouldn't
All
it? Being
right, so we are live, and you'll have to excuse us. Vanessa and I were just chit-chatting about this is our first time doing a live event. Um,
All
I need
right.
to, I need to
So,
turn off mine. Okay, we're figuring things out, y'all. A tech pro, I am not. So, okay, so we've got one more person that's trying to get in. Hey, Dana.
hey.
We've got Sasha trying desperately to get in, and
which
let me tell her to just click on this link. Click on the link. Okay. All right. So welcome everybody. As I was driving back from Virginia today, I realized I was still about 3 hours from home, and I realized that I never filmed an introduction to the summit. So when people clicked on the link today, they just went straight into the videos. And if you were brand new, you were kind of like, okay, maybe what's happening here? So I'll give a quick intro right now. What for the for the three of us, and if anyone else is participating, we learn through our mistakes, right? So welcome to the Career Beyond Your Blog Summit, and this is a project that I am very passionate about. Obviously, I've spent about 784 trillion hours putting it together. So I decided to launch the project about 6 or 7 months ago. I had the idea a few years ago, but I kind of shelved it for a little while because I wasn't ready, and I'm glad that I did because I've met the people in my life who needed to be in this summit since then, like two of the women, or all three of the women actually, that I'm going to introduce you to today. But I am a writer. I started out as a blogger, and then I self-published. I've self-published. I'm in the process of my fifth book right now, and blogging and writing. It's a big passion. And um, can one of y'all answer Sasha's question for me real quick, please? This is the joy of being live, right? Um, anyway, what I noticed was there's a lot of places that will tell you about the craft of writing and the tools you need to self-publish and those types of things, but there's not a whole lot of information out there about being a businesswoman or a businessman as a writer. And I really felt that that was lacking because a lot of the things that I've struggled with in my publishing and blogging career over the last 5 years have been business related problems, whether it's tools that I don't know how to use or I don't know, there's so much stuff out there that you have to try and get a hold of or whatever it may be. I wanted to focus on business tools, business strategy. I'm getting really bad feedback from somebody's computer. And all those things that go along with building yourself as a businesswoman, if that makes sense. So that's what I set out to do. So I found a variety of women. Some of them are writers, some of them are not. A lot of them are bloggers and authors, but they are also doing other things. Like all three of the women today are all writers. Vanessa's published a couple of books, right? Two?
yeah, too.
Dana has a book, and Sasha, actually, the way I met her was that she was one of the contributors to my second anthology, actually. So, yes, so we're putting it all in the frame of being a writer, but we're going to talk about mindset and how much that can stop you and hold you back if you've got issues that are keeping you from success. We're going to talk about business tools. We're talking about publishing tools and different ways to publish. And it's just, I think that the 45 people who are participants in this summit just have so much to bring to the table. So, with that being said, I wanted to have a chance to talk to some of our speakers, and ideally we were going to have Sasha Gray, who is like a Facebook genius. When I interviewed her, she had 152,000 fans on Facebook, and now she's at almost 200,000, and that was only a couple months ago. So she knows how to work the Facebook, and we're trying to get her in on, but we have Dana Malstaff, who some of you may know as the Boss Mom. She runs the Boss Mom Academy and is a fantastic, very smart businesswoman and has so much to to tell us all about growing our business, and Vanessa, who kind of fell into my life through Dana, who has a huge background in writing and PR as well, but she's also a mindset coach and has so much to share with that with us on that too. So, okay, I would just love it. Dana, we'll start with you because I know that you may have to get off a little bit early today. Will you just give a little bit more information to everybody about you and why you're so wonderful?
Oh, gosh. It's hard to follow
No
up on.
pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a business strategist, and basically didn't start the Boss Mom brand originally. I started business strategy first and really fell into, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that I saw the big picture, wanted to help people see that same big picture and how all the parts in their business could come together, how they can get more done with smaller amounts of content, smaller amounts of things that they're doing to really drive their business forward, because everybody's doing so many things all at once. When I decided to write the Boss Mom book, I didn't know it was going to be the Boss Mom book. It turns out when I was doing my mind mapping that this idea of getting rid of the guilt of wanting to be a great mom but also wanting to be a great entrepreneur at the same time and not sure how to make those two happen without me feeling terrible about myself, that was the story I wanted to tell. When I started to go out and tell other people that was the story I wanted to tell, they got super excited, and so I sort of fanned the flame and launched from. So basically the book idea turned to my entire business brand, and the business brand has worked really, really well. We've had amazing growth over the last just 8 months, and then folded in everything I was already doing in my business as far as strategy into, the Boss Mom Academy, all the other products and services and things that we do through that brand, and really building that community. So that's where we are now, is taking what worked, what we saw to be working, and doing a lot more of that, and doing a lot less of the things that weren't working.
That's great. Vanessa, will you share with our readers about who are you and what are you doing?
Who are you? What do you do?
Who are you?
Who the hell are you? Yeah, so I guess I am coming to this with two hats on then. As you said, I've got the kind of author bit. So I am a very different approach to Dana, which is I write fiction, or I did write fiction, and I am a published poet as well. So I've been down the traditional route and been published traditionally, and then I've self-published too, so I've done one of each. And then I've got plans for future publishing projects from here on in, which would be much more business related and not really in the fiction area at the moment. So my role now is to coach aspirational housewives, is probably the best way to put it. So women who have kind of reached that point where they've had enough of compromising. And hi, Sasha. She just
you made it. Woo, from the Cheesecake Factory in Chicago, right? Or Kansas City.
Which has to be the best place in the world, surely.
Same thing.
Oh yes, I told her to be eating her cheesecake when she came on. Okay, I'm sorry about that, Vanessa.
That's okay. No, that's fine. So yeah, my role now is bringing together really all of the experience that I've had: business, publishing, working on my own projects. Mindset is a huge amount of that. I've got a background in counselling. It's kind of been combining all of those skills. As you mentioned, the PR and marketing thing has been huge, and that's been a massive benefit to me, particularly while I was going down the publishing route, in creating an author brand. So whilst that's not really technically my day job, if you like, now, and it's very much the mindset coaching, my experience to date has kind of all of that has folded into my journey as an author, as a writer, blogger. I've done freelance writing, I've done a bit of blogging, I've done a bit of all sorts as far as writing is concerned. So it's been a great way to sort of fold all those things together.
Cool, thank you. So Sasha, we were just quickly doing a round robin intro. If you want to give a quick rundown of who you are and why you are.
That's a tricky question. It is a trick question. I own Lipstick, Margaritas, and Hairspray, both in real life and on the World Wide Webs. I don't have any of those things. Oh, I do have those things. I don't have a margarita right now, which would be helpful. But mostly I do the Facebook thingy. I do write sometimes. I write a lot of content for my page, and that's where all of my time is spent. Typically is on my Facebook page. And when I write occasionally and think about it and post.
Right.
So, I'm sorry
Okay.
it's loud in here. These people were not cooperating at all when I said don't talk.
Be quiet, yeah. Be quiet while you're enjoying your
Hush.
cheesecake. All right. Well, I want to circle back to Dana. I want to talk a little bit about growth strategies. You mentioned how quickly, and I've been watching it as well, how quickly your community has been growing over the past few months, and I think with writers and bloggers especially, that's so important to us to grow our community because we have to have somebody to read our stuff, right? So what are some of the techniques that you have used, and how have you been able to achieve that growth?
Sure. So I think that the number one thing that has been really powerful for the Boss Mom community is that we aren't seeking to sell products and services. We are seeking to start a movement.
Mm-hmm.
So the most important thing that we put out for our brand is to motivate, inspire, to feel like they're not alone, to rev up the emotions that our boss moms have inside that say, that's me. So that when people go and they connect, I know Sasha gets this a lot, when people go and they connect with your content, when they go and connect with your page and they connect with the other people that are connecting in this space, they want to like stand up and nod their head or cheer or do their chair dance or dance party or whatever it is to be like, that's me, that's me. I've like met people that are like me and they get me. And as NJ, my co-host on the podcast says, you know, we let our freak flag fly, and people feel connected. And I think that, you know, I run, you know, my business has services and products just like other companies. I'm not the only business strategist. I'm not the only one that helps women start businesses, those kinds of things. I think one of the things that helps the Boss Mom brand be a brand is that the brand stands for something. It's not a brand that's about just this service I want to have or this product I want to have, or, you know, and it goes, I think, farther even past the idea that we try and go, okay, well, I want to build something, and, you know, and we want to do this one particular thing, so I'm going to band together people that want to do that one particular thing. I think we hit on a nerve, you know, we hit on an emotional chord with people who feel a struggle. Like we are saying, we all have this struggle, we go through this, we're going to band together to help make this better. Boss Mom as a business has some great tools to help you through that journey, but whether or not you embrace, you know, and connect with us on those services and products, the whole community has a space, and women within the community are hiring each other to do things and collaborations, and I think that the movement part, the emotional part, the getting people to stand up and want to shout, yes, this is me, I'm connecting in this way. I think that is ultimately the way that you build a brand, and then you seamlessly weave in your services and your products so that they fit and answer those challenges and questions and things that people have, so that when they band together, they all go, okay, well, now we need to find a solution, and you are that solution.
Absolutely. That's very smart. Well, and I think you said something, and I'm sorry, I'm on limited sleep, and I was actually listening to a TED Talk on the way down. I was listening to podcasts and TED Talks and all kinds of stuff as I drove 6 hours in the car today, and he was talking about how we don't treat sleep importantly enough, and how if you don't get enough sleep, your brain starts shutting down, and it's true. Any of us with small children know this to be true. So if I randomly say something that makes no sense, we're just going to completely blame it on that. I have not started drinking yet today. So, Sasha, no one else can see you, but I saw that. Oh, goodness. And the community aspect is so important. I remember what it was now, especially for our target audience here, and with your target audience with Boss Moms. Many of us are in a position where we are raising small children or grandchildren and trying to grow our writing business or our design business or whatever it is, business. And there's something unique about that struggle of being home with children and trying to grow a business that I know none of my friends that aren't doing that get. So I think that for me has been one of the best elements of the Boss Mom community, and something that we're trying to build with a lot of our writing communities too, so that you have those people who say, yeah, I get it, I understand what's going on, and you're not crazy because you're upset that your kid has bothered you 17 times while you were trying to record a podcast while they were awake, because why not? I mean,
when I look, this is the thing I think is funny. If you look at your community's inside jokes, like the jokes that only other people in that same situation would get, that's some of the language, some of the pain points, because our inside jokes are generally based off things that suck, you know?
Right, exactly.
we joke, we're like, hey, by the way, if you've got little kids, you're probably going to know you haven't slept in like 3 years. And we all, we all laugh, haha, that's so true. And then we get off the phone and we're like, I haven't slept in 3 years. But those inside jokes, whether you're parents or not, or you're writers, and writers have your own set of things that you got inside jokes for that are, the way we edit things, and the way you go through things, the way you come up with ideas, all those things. And I know that Sasha and Vanessa can probably talk a lot more to that, but I think that's the thing is, like, I love to look at where do I find people with these, like, we get each other's jokes for particular things, and then figure out why. Like, what's the pain point that makes those inside jokes funny for us, that we've gotten to a point where we can kind of laugh about it. What does that look like? And that can be a place to just look first to spark, where could that emotional point be? Because I do think whether you're selling a book or you're selling a big brand or a product or whatever you're doing, any marketer, any salesperson will tell you, you don't sell the features, you sell the benefits. And the benefits, a lot of that comes emotionally. And what do we want to feel? What do we want life to be like? What do we want our environment to be like? What do we not want it to look like or be like? And what is it that's causing us to cry in the shower by ourselves? Or as Jessica Stansbury says, have a face to the bathroom floor moment. I think that's it. So you're look at inside jokes. Look at things where you guys kind of. My mom said a comic book to me, and it said a woman was all frazzled, and she's at the doctor, and she's like, I'm sorry, it looks like what you have is small children. And I was like, oh, that's because I often feel like
true. It's so true. I want to shift gears just a little bit, though. I mean, it's all kind of related, but I just came back from a blogging conference this weekend, which I would never, ever, ever recommend to anyone that you go to a conference for a whole weekend and then launch your own conference the following day. Not sure what I was thinking, but we're going to make it happen. Anyway, one of the things I was thinking about on my drive up there, and this is for you, Vanessa, so listen, if you've tuned us out. Not at all. The whole feeling of being like an outsider or somebody who's where did the word go? Someone who doesn't have the experience that they say that they have. You feel like you're not quite. Yes, imposter syndrome. And then one of the speakers actually brought it up. See, now I really feel like an imposter. I can't even find a word. This is why I write at my computer, not speak live. But no, they were talking about imposter syndrome also this weekend, and I think we find that a lot as writers and as entrepreneurs. And I wanted to ask you about that, and if you had any thoughts on how we get beyond, especially the women who are moving from housewife to professional or stay-at-home mom to writer, or however they're doing that, where you start to really think of yourself as a professional and not someone who's just playing along.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. So yeah, again, two schools of thought, I guess. I forgot to mention earlier, ridiculously, that in addition to the writing stuff, I founded this thing called the Housewife Revolution, and part of that is so my children's ages are quite different. So I'm not in the little kid phase anymore. I've got 4 kids, but they're aged 6 to 16. And so that brings with it a whole new set of imposter syndrome feelings as you move through the phases, right. And as you move from the artistic world to through to the business side and all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, imposter syndrome as far as writing is concerned is a really interesting one, and it's something that I struggled with for a long time in the early days when I was starting to draft my novel in particular, that I just figured, but I'm not a real writer. I'm not a real writer. And I think a lot of people struggle with that idea that to be a real writer, you must have some kind of literary prize, you must have some kind of credentials, you must have, you know, suffer for your art, you must sit with a bourbon every day and stare at the screen and talk to your demons and all this kind of stuff. And I just don't buy it, actually. I think that if you write, you're a writer. I think and it doesn't matter who you write for, where you're writing, I just don't think that matters. And I think that there's a lot of literary snobbery around, you know, how you're somehow not valid unless you've got this deal or that, you know, unless you're doing it to some kind of level and other people are applauding you for it. And so I think a lot of, I don't think it's just a female thing, actually. I think a lot of writers in general have this idea that they, you know, stare at the screen and think, but nobody's ever read my stuff, so I can't be a proper writer and I haven't made it yet. And then ironically, they sit there staring at the screen, not writing, and then they're saying, but I'm not a writer. Well, no, you're not, because you're not doing anything right now. So, you know, really, who gets to decide who earns that title and who gets to decide what a real writer is versus something else? So, you know, there are far more, I think we all would probably be able to agree that there are plenty of really talented writers out there who receive huge advances, have huge publishing deals, this, that, and the other. There are also plenty of really rubbish, bad writers out there who also have those things. And then there are plenty of incredibly talented writers whose writing never ever sees a bookstore. So who gets to decide, and which one of us determines who's the real writer and who isn't? And I think it's such a subjective industry. I think the only time you can really say you're not a writer is if you're not writing, if you're not creating anything. And as long as you're creating, you're a writer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would guess there has to be some level of what your goals are too, because so many people, I'll just throw out an example of 50 Shades of Grey. The quote-unquote real writers tore that book apart about how horribly it was written, but I don't imagine there's too many of us fiction writers that would complain at the sales that they've had with that series of books. So, you know.
Of course, and I think there's I mean, you know, you touch on a really important point there about what your writing goals are, and I think that's something that only you can decide whether you are writing to a level that you are satisfied with based on the goals you set out to do. So, you know, for some people, the dream is the big six-figure deal. And it's that or nothing, and you haven't made it if you haven't got that. For some people, they're quite happy actually to, you know, to win a local writing prize, or to write and create something that they self-publish for their grandchildren, or to, you know, I think there's this idea that we all have to buy into the dream that the six-figure deal is the only way to go, and that that's what everybody's after. And I think often you can find yourself chasing that dream without really considering, is that my dream? Is that what I was after? Did I want that, or did I just want a chance to express myself? And I think it's getting back to that fundamental question: why do I write? Who am I doing this for? And what do I want to say? And actually, if you can focus just on that first and foremost, what do I want to say and why do I want to do this, and set those as your goals, the rest in time will take care of itself. Because then you stop filtering yourself, and then you just do it because you love it, and you do it because you're passionate about what you want to say, and you do it because you've got a message, and you do it because you really have a story to tell. And if you can just focus on that and forget about the rest for the time being, that's a much more satisfying way to do it, because I've done it the other way as well. And it's really hard work when all you're doing is writing for somebody else's validation. It should never be about writing for somebody else's validation first and foremost. It should be about doing it for your own reasons.
This is why I love talking to Vanessa. She makes me feel very calm and relaxed while telling me what to do to move ahead with my mindset issues.
That's because I spent all day shouting at the kids. You see, I've got nothing left now.
Yes. She's worn herself out.
Yeah, I'm all done.
Sasha, I want to talk about community building with you too, Miss Queen of Facebook growth and amazingness. So writers these days, whether you're traditionally or self-published, you're expected now to have a community, which I think is kind of sad, because for me it seems like that's one of the big draws of going with a major house, if you can get picked up, is that, you know, they do all that work for you, but now they kind of expect you to come to them with
Right.
a solid base already there. So when you started off your Facebook page, was it to support your blog, or what was the reason that you decided to try and grow it? When did you realize you had caught on to something, and are your goals now still the same as they were when you started? That was a
I
lot.
started, yeah, it was a lot. Let me see if I can remember all that. And I'll try to be really close, not so that you can see my, blemishes, but because it's really loud in here, so I'm sorry. I started this because I really wanted to write, and I didn't even know how all that was going to connect and work together. But I just wanted to write occasionally, and at the time, you put a Facebook page with the blog. I was doing some different things, and I was doing some motivational speaking, and the things I wanted to say about margaritas and funny things didn't really fit with
Mm.
the motivational speaking website and Facebook page. So I started another one. In the middle of the night, you say, "Oh, what's a good name? Oh, let me pick lipstick, margaritas, and hairspray." Today, I know that's not the best name, but that's okay. Um, so it kind of started by accident, and I'll tell you when I realized that it was possibly something that was income producing was when I wanted to say, hey, I need some money here, so I'll sell something. And I went to this festival, and it rained, and I sold nothing. And I kind of said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all this stuff? I can give it away for Christmas presents for the next 10 years. But I said, let me put a couple of pieces, or let me just throw it up on my Facebook page. And I sold everything in just a matter of days. And I said, this is possibly something that's going to work. So I realized then that I could do it through Facebook. It took me a little while to get everything kind of set up. I mean, I shipped a lot of things and didn't make any money because I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know shipping, didn't know boxes and those kinds of things. So when I figured all that out, including, credit cart, and all those things, it's worked wonderfully, and it has grown tremendously. My favorite quote: in order to grow your Facebook page, you have to post shareable
Shareable
content.
content, yes.
Shareable content to get people there. They need to post, click, share, or comment, which brings more people there. And in turn, they then see your stuff that you have posted there, and then they go to wherever you send them for that. So that's the secret. It's not really a secret, but you want to drive people there. And that, of course, is, Dana said, engagement. I ask questions. Mine is very, very intentional. I have a schedule that helps my old brain keep it all straight. I do the same thing. It's just like you tell your kids. You have to tell them something 5, 10, 15 times for them to remember it. Well, I do the same thing every day. 5 o'clock is the drink of the day. 6 o'clock is what's for dinner. And people want to tell you, just like Dana was saying earlier, they want to be a part of something. Oh, that's just like me. Oh, look, I'm having pizza too, or whatever. And they will comment with each other, oh, how did you fix that? And then at 8 o'clock is tonight's question. And, I get hundreds of comments, and that's the engagement. And then when you post the shareable content, that brings new people there. Excuse me, every day I have people say, oh, this is the first time I've seen your live. I've seen your question or whatever, and this is really cool. So it has changed by being much more intentional. I can remember specifically going away on vacation 2 or 3 years ago and saying, oh, I'll just post, a couple times here or there. Well, I'm away today, as you might can tell. And everything, is scheduled. It's still 15 times a day, just like it was yesterday, just like it was Thursday, and just like it will be tomorrow, so that a lot of them, my fans, know that I'm away on vacation, but it's still seamless, and they don't realize that, it's happening, and they don't even realize, they're not even thinking about it. It's, oh, I got to go see what the drink of the day is, or those kinds of things. So it's
Yeah.
very intentional. I drive them there so that they can see that pinned post to the top. Right now it's about the Giggle and Snort Tour, but typically it's a product that I'm trying to sell, and I will direct them to my website to do that.
That's awesome. It's funny that you post consistently 15 times a day, because I remember someone directly telling me you should not post more than 3 or 4 times a day on your Facebook page. You're going to lose your followers. They don't want to see that. And clearly you are contradicting that idea. But I agree. It's the consistency. If I was just to go out there and post 15 different random things all over the place, it probably wouldn't. I would not see the same kind of success you have, I don't think, because you've got things that people are specifically looking for. They know at 8 a.m. Is it 8 a.m. you go live every day? They're going to get
Yeah,
Sasha and her coffee cup and whatever you're
absolutely.
talking about that morning, you know? So,
And someone from Facebook told me that you can't post too much. Now you can post too quickly together. There is spam
right,
out there.
right,
But you know what I have said many times is people, the same person isn't going to see all 15 things. It's not going to happen.
right.
You know, you want people
You're right.
throughout the day. And if I'm not live by say 8:20 or 8:30, I start getting messages. Hey, are you okay? I'm waiting for you. Where are you? I'm like, okay, I'm coming. Go.
That's awesome. Well, I think that another one of the things that I noted this weekend at my conference, listening to different people talk about how they've had success with Facebook and with Twitter and with all these types of things, is that there is no one way to do it right. There's a lot of different ways that you can find success with different things as long as you're consistent and you continue to work it. Um, but yeah, I love what you've done. I think it's amazing. I couldn't believe it when I was putting together your speaker page, because when I interviewed you in April, you had like 152,000, and when I checked it the other day just to see how it was, I was like, oh my gosh, she's gained another 40,000 followers in a month and a half. I've been blogging for 5 years, and I have 4,000 on my blog Facebook page.
You know the
Like,
secret: post shareable content.
so shareable
Whether
content.
you,
That's exactly
yeah,
right.
whether you create it, which would be ideal, or you find it other places, but your own creations are ideal.
Yeah, great. So back to you, Dana. I am curious about what you want to tell, and we talk about this in our interview, but what you would tell a mom, because you have two very small children and you are still running a very, very busy business, a mom who thinks that she can't do her business and be a mom at the same time.
Sure. Well, I think this, it's so funny because I think this applies too if you're at a corporate job and you don't think you could figure out something at the same time. I think whenever we have two things we love, or maybe one thing we hate but we can't get out of, and to remove it to something we love. But in the instance of families, you know, you feel like you don't have time because you've filled your time. There's always the ability to make the time for the things that you really want and desire, but the only way to be successful, I think, is to be really conscious about your time. I think a lot of what we feel guilty about when we go out and we try and start a business is we try and do everything, and we we watch. Like, for instance, this summit is extremely specific, and each person is talking about something that's going to help drive them towards one thing. If you went out and just watched, 45 interviews in all different places, you wouldn't have any direction on what you want to do. So we would spend our time, we would waste our time, and when we waste our time, we feel guilty about wasting our time. So if you're a mom and you're going, I don't have a whole lot of time, then you just have to get super, super, super focused on what you want to do, what it is you want to create, and then you have to start small and say, what can I do there? What are the little things that I can start with? Where can I, if I need to start building the community first, testing the waters, going out and creating buzz. Maybe you want to write. You say, maybe I just start by writing, and doing those things and finding a summit or a place like this where I can go out and get the support I need in something that's super, super, super specific. Because if you don't have that focus, then you're going to waste your time, and then you are going to feel guilty about it, and you're going to wonder what it's all for, because you're going to get not a ton of traction. That book, The One Thing, is true. Like, you go and you look at really, really successful entrepreneurs, and they don't have a million things going on, and if they do, it's because they've been successful long enough to be able to afford to hire people to help them do a million things. But
Right.
most people get really great. Like Simon Sinek had the one TED talk and the one book, and he's just now putting out a second book,
Yeah.
because we find that the thing, we focus on that, and so that we know our time is being well spent moving something forward that we really care about, and then we don't feel that guilt that we're not spending time with our kids, that we're not doing these things, because we have this focus that I think gives us a lot of momentum and motivation and inspiration to be able to feel like we can maybe do both at the same time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I went through that myself, and you've gotten to see me kind of go through that, where I was 4 months ago trying to do 100 different things at the same time, and I finally just decided everything else is going to have to wait. If I'm going to do this summit, I got to do it and do it right, and I can't do 72 other things unless I want to fail at all of them. But I wanted to put out the question to all three of you, actually. Sasha, I know you are in my book. I'd love to know if you're thinking about writing any more and where you're going. I'll ask you first.
I write, yes, I have the great American novel securely about right here in my head that I'm always writing. Funny thing, I am writing, and I have written my whole life. But I have a story that I've been working on, and really I hadn't worked on it in a couple of years. And I posted the other day, I said, hey, I'm going to put this first chapter out there I said on my Facebook page, and then I posted it on my website. And I just said, hey, see what you think. They loved it. They went crazy for it and said, oh my gosh, where's chapter 2? And I'm thinking, holy snap, I guess I better write chapter 2. Actually, I had 2 chapters written, so now I got to write chapter 3. And the lie I told myself was I would get so much done this weekend while I was away from home, and that didn't happen. So, yes, I would love to finish that story and actually go forward with it. And then I would also love to do more anthologies and put the shorter stories out there, or even my own. So, absolutely going forward with it. Of course, we all know how this is. The time constraints kill you to be able to actually do that, and not just the writing part, but the thinking part, the quiet space in my head that I need for the thinking part to create the story.
Right. Well, I think the really interesting thing about writing is that there's so many different reasons why all of us do it. I started out blogging because I needed an outlet for grief, and then just realized that I really loved to write and to share messages and to, get information and awareness out there on children's and health topics, and it's grown into books, and I really want to write my fiction book that is too also in my head. Actually, I lie. I did NaNoWriMo, and I actually have 56,000 words on page that I wrote 3 years ago and left there. So one day I'll get back to that. Dana wrote her book as a business tool, which I'd love to ask you about. That's another reason why people decide to write is coaches and professionals who are doing it to supplement their business knowledge out there. I guess. Why don't you tell us why you wrote your book?
Sure. So I think there's actually a difference. So there's a big fad out there where people actually write their book as a business tool. It's like written as an opt-in.
Right.
Opt-in is like a way to drive people to their website, so I didn't write it as a business tool, but I wrote it. I've always wanted to write a book. My whole family is literary. I have a journalism degree, so I know writing was part of me. I mean, sabbatical is like one of my favorite words. Take one and go out and explore the world and write about it. So I always knew I wanted to write. I don't think that was ever a question. I think when I wrote Boss Mom was therapeutic, like you said. You did it for grief. I did it for. It helped me accept it. It helped me feel like if I would have had this community when I was starting my business, when I had my son, growing my business when I had my daughter, if I would have had this, it would have made my life so much easier. I would have cried a lot less. I would have probably been successful a lot quicker because there was a lot more acceptance there. So I wrote it because I wanted other women to be able to have that, community. And what I realized, I think after the fact, now I recognize how powerful it can be, but I realized after the fact is that it's a starting point for a lot of people to get to know me. It's a place of nurturing that relationship. It's a place of showing that I know what I'm talking about. It's a place of, me getting some clout in that community, in that base, so that when people go and they're like, wow, we're thinking of someone that we want that's, kind of based on mompreneurs. It's just like it's just like what Vanessa's starting, that same idea. You get people that come and they want to connect with you, and they see that you have a book that's doing well, and they see that you have these other things, and it fits really nicely with what you're doing, so you have consistency of what you stand for, and that does a lot of really great things for your business. But I would say that if you are writing a book just just for your business, it's going to be hard. Like, I'm very passionate about what I wrote. Every word was, with a lot of love, with a lot of a lot of difficulty, like 15, 20 different drafts of going through the whole thing. So if you don't really care about what you're writing about, it's going to be a much harder process, much harder to get a following, to get people excited about it, because writing is hard. And not just the practice of it, just the habit of it is hard. Speaking from someone who maybe it comes easy to certain people, but like, I had to make it a habit for myself. And I have a degree that taught me how to write.
I did not realize you had a degree in journalism. That is really interesting. Now, I'll be sending you now my rough drafts. So do you have plans for another book?
Oh, well, you know me. I love Trello, and we have an entire Boss Mom.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
So we have a whole slew of ideas. We're just figuring out which one's the right one to start. There's going to be a whole, there's based off the Boss Mom ones, or do we want to do other ones? So that, it's deciding which one makes the most sense of where we are in our business and where I am in my life, because I want to obviously spend time with the kids. And I think the most important thing is, I love what Sasha did, because you go out and you ask your community. Like, the next book that I write, sorry, we spent all day at SeaWorld yesterday, so of course I'm sick today. But that Sasha said, nobody's gonna come out and go, oh, Dana, this is the next topic. Like, I'm gonna narrow it down to 3 topics that make the most sense for me, and my community's gonna tell me which one they want me to write next. They're all gonna be topics I'm gonna love to write about, but they're gonna help me. And I think Sasha did the exact right thing, because they're gonna be the motivator that gets her to do it, and actually do it, because it's hard. And then they're going to feel like they were along for the journey, and so they're going to buy it. And then I have no doubt she'll be ridiculously successful, as always.
Well, she's so funny that and she has 200 million fans already, so.
Not quite. Almost, not
We're
quite.
getting there. We're getting there. I'm sorry. This is one of those things that go along with being a working at home mom in the summertime. I have a 4-year-old that doesn't quite understand why she's not on the broadcast with us. Just
And hate
yes,
clothes.
okay.
My kids hate clothes too.
Oh, yes. She's never clothed, so I'm trying to keep her off camera. All right, so I'll shift the question to Vanessa and mute myself over here. Tell us about how you got started with your books. That is me.
Okay, you got it. How did I get started? Well, I mean, I've been writing pretty much like my entire life, really. Writing is my, it's kind of how I make sense of the world. So it's kind of like drinking and eating and breathing to me. It's kind of just what I do. And although I had a background in the PR and marketing side, obviously a lot of that was creating content. For journalists, for press, and all that kind of stuff. So it's always kind of been a bit of a natural talent, I guess, or a natural ability for me, and it's just how I make sense of things. So that's kind of how I got started. Definitely my poetry collection was a personal project, and then my fiction really was really interesting. That started out of me thinking that I didn't have enough creativity. I didn't have the talent, I didn't have whatever it was that you think is the magic ingredient that you need to come up with a good idea. So I'd spent years and years writing for other people. I'd spent years and years writing for clients, writing in corporate speak, writing in everybody else's voice but my own. So I'd got really, really good at writing other people's versions of events. But when it came to actually deciding what I wanted to say, I wasn't really sure anymore what my voice was out of all of that. And so I went on a writing retreat and spent pretty much the whole week crying about the fact that I couldn't do it, crying about the fact that I didn't have any good ideas, and feeling really, really sorry. I mean, it was pathetic. It was quite tragic, but that's okay. It was so I spent a week just thinking, oh my God, I have nothing to write about. Everybody else is better than me. Everybody else is much more talented than me. I'm an imposter. All of that kind of stuff. And also thinking, my God, I spent a fortune to get here, and if I don't go home with something, I'm going to be in trouble. So I did all of that, and then really oddly kind of got to the last day of the week on that retreat, and just thought, what would I do if this was a business problem? You know, this is where I've come from. I'm a creative soul, but I've had a business life. So if this was a business problem, how would I deal with this? What would I do? And so I gathered together the people on the retreat with me, and I said, help me out. Can I brainstorm? And I held a brainstorm with my fellow writers on my retreat. And I said, this is what I care about. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what, things that interest me, da, 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 da. And we slowly kind of started having a conversation. And then somebody said to me, my novel is actually, it's really out of character for me. It's set in the 20s. It's very Freudian. It's quite dark. It's quite psychological. And I'm not like that. I'm quite sunny and quite lively, and it's a million miles away. But somebody said to me, have you heard of Anna Freud? And I said, oh, okay, yeah, that's interesting. That's Freud's daughter. And I went off basically with a spark of an idea, and that's all it was a spark of an idea. And then I started learning and reading and researching this woman who just became more and more interesting to me, and who I felt that I was really curious about, really wanted to understand. I've got this counselling sort of background as well. I've got all this mindset stuff that I do. So I'm really interested in the psychology of people and how they work. And then, just lots of things that resonated with me. So it was, in a way, less personal, but it was also incredibly personal. And I think I needed to prove to myself that I could finish it and do it. I think that was another thing. It's one thing writing a poetry collection, it's something else writing a novel of 90,000 odd words, So, and so I think, one of the things I was thinking about when I think Dana was talking earlier was about the story you write and what you put into it. And I think a lot of writers struggle to get started because they think, oh, what will people think of me? If I really write what I really want to say, what will people think? People will judge me. This will be really shocking, or this will be really, whatever it is. And actually, I've found more and more that what people read is completely different to what you write, because people come to it with their stuff and what they pick up. Whatever you think you put into your writing, be it fiction or non-fiction, I think that what you put in kind of almost goes out the window as soon as you open it up to an audience, because they'll find what they're looking for. Regardless of whether or not you meant to put it in there, people will find what they're looking for, and that's a really interesting process. And so I kind of wanted to bring that up, because I guess what I wanted to say was, if you're feeling at all paralyzed by this idea that what will people think of me, or somebody will judge if I do whether it's a Facebook post or a book or a blog post or whatever, this could be really inflammatory, or people will think this, people will think that. They won't. They'll see what they want to see in your words, and that's what generally happens. So
that's a really good point. Well, we are coming up on 50 minutes in, and I know Dana has to go really soon. I didn't ever state this, but if anybody has questions and you are watching live, if anyone, I see Abigail's there, feel free to pop a question in on, and I can ask our speakers if you have any questions for them. If not, we're going to move right into the lightning round, I guess. I have some very important questions for you. I don't know what's happening there. First, I need to know, Dana, Sasha, and Vanessa, in that order, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, peanut butter chocolate.
Chocolate? Peanut butter chocolate.
Peanut butter chocolate. Together.
That sounds amazing. Sasha?
Peanut butter is amazing.
Butter pecan.
Ooh, yummy. Vanessa?
I'm ashamed to say I'm not a massive fan of ice cream.
Okay, you don't have to eat. Then you can be the first one to answer. Would you rather eat a cheeseburger or a piece of pizza?
My husband makes really good burgers, so I'm going to go cheeseburger.
All right. Sasha?
Pizza.
Pizza.
It's one of the 4 major food groups.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, of course. And Dana?
I'd say I sadly eat more pizza than I do cheeseburgers because I think I've got kids, but I would rather have a good cheeseburger with some Swiss and mushroom.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Okay, and really quickly, what is, and I already know what Dana's going to answer, so maybe I should ask her a different question, but I wanted to know, we ask this in all of our interviews of everybody because I think it is a really important question, but the most important tool that helps you in growing either your writing business, being able to write more effectively, or growing any other aspect of your business. And we'll start with, I can just tell you that Dana's going to say Trello, so I'm just kidding. We'll let her. All right, Vanessa.
No, I think Trello, but I actually think like a community or a mastermind or a coach.
Yeah, I agree.
Trello helps me organize things, and that's great, but I could organize the entire world, and if I don't have a mastermind or a coach or a good coaching program or a colleagues or something to actually help me brainstorm my ideas, figure out what I want to do, give me focus, keep me motivated, and keep me accountable, then that organization isn't going to get me anywhere.
Yeah, you are 100% correct on that one. Vanessa?
Yeah, everything Dana just said, but also as far as writing specific, so that in a business sense, totally. Also, as far as writing specifically, a great tool that I found, and I'd recommend for people who are struggling with this word count, staying motivated, and keeping on track thing, is there's a website called Pacemaker, and you can set up like a word count thing on there, and you can plot out if you need to write a 90,000 word book, novel, whatever. You can set how many words you want, set how many words you want in total, set how much time you want to write for. So if you want to get it done in 6 months, and it will tell you, it will kind of divide it all up into chunks and tell you how many words a day you need to do and things like that to really keep you on track, which is quite motivating. It becomes a little bit of a game, so you can kind of, and then also you can front load it if you want to, so you can set the settings on there so that you do the majority of it up front, or that you do a little bit, or that you do it at random. It's kind of like being on a running machine for writers. It's really clever. And it's free to use. It's free to use.
That's awesome. Okay, and Sasha.
It was the favorite tool. Is that what's the question?
Yep.
Probably the many meme creating apps that I use, WordSwag, Canva, all those things, because I'm constantly looking for some neat tool to make it quick and easy to create some original memes.
Yeah, that's great. And people are so visual today. That's so important.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes, and I will put that that tool in the chat box so that everybody can see Pacemaker. But thank you so much, everybody, for being here with us today. I really appreciate the time that you've taken in the summit in general, and then extra time out of your day, especially Sasha, who's on vacation. And just really quickly, I'm going to start with Dana because she may have to hop off before we finish. Where can everyone find you?
Oh, yeah, boss-mom.com. That's super easy. And she'll call, but I only have to hop off because I'm finalizing my contract for the Boss Mom Retreat location. So.
Oh, I want to go so badly.
Yeah, so it's not quite time yet. But yeah, boss-mom.com. The podcast is actually one of our most popular things, and you can get on iTunes and Stitcher. And yeah, that one actually has the last 5 months has doubled every single month in viewers, so that's kind of like our space, and that's just the Boss Mom podcast.
Cool. Thank you so much. All right, Sasha.
You can find me on Facebook as Lipstick, Margaritas, and Hairspray. That is also my website, and a crying baby is just a bonus. It's Lipstick, Margaritas, and Hairspray. On both, on everything, my website and my Facebook page.
Awesome, thank you. Vanessa?
Yeah, so I've got an author page, which is I'm on Facebook under Vanessa Matthews, so you can find me there. Then also, as I mentioned, the Housewife Revolution is my coaching mindset sort of space. So I have a Facebook group, which is about 470 members so far and growing. I then have a Facebook page for that as well, and then it's thehousewiferevolution.com is the website if you want to find out more about what I do and how I do it.
All right, so awesome. And Vanessa's interview actually went live today. So if you go over to careerbeyondblog.com, you will see Vanessa and 7 other of our fantastic interviewees. And again, we focus on mindset, business tools, and PR marketing, writing tools, all kinds of stuff. So that's how the speeches are, or the interviews are organized as well, a smattering of each day. And Sasha and Dana will be in the next couple of days, so keep checking back to see who's new and who's up there. And thank you for hanging out with us today. Thanks again, ladies. I appreciate it so much, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.